Math 2, Module 2, Practice Problems 2.1 through 2.7, Page 4, Questions 19 through 24. Write each standard form equation in vertex form and factor form. Well, we just practiced factoring, so that form goes fairly well for us. Factors of 12 that sum up to 8, well, that is 2 and 6. Since I want them in equation, you need to have a y equals, and this would be x plus 2 times x plus 6. Vertex form, we find vertex form really by completing the square. So when I look at this, y equals x squared plus 8x plus 12. Half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16, but this is not 16, so I'm going to start to complete my square. X squared plus 8x, still have my plus 12. Again, intentionally completing the square, so half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16, so if I add in 16 here, I have to subtract it here. Writing this now as a perfect square, half of 8 is 4, so that's my x plus 4 quantity squared, and 12 minus 16 would be a minus 4. Looking at question number 20, y equals x squared plus 6x plus 8, so factoring that. Factors of 8 that sum up to 6, well, those are 2 and 4, so y equals x plus 2 times x plus 4. Completing the square to get this in factor form, x squared plus 6x plus 8. Well, half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. Again, not a perfect square. So I'm going to start setting this up to complete that. X squared plus 6x. I leave a space here. We still have my plus 8 on the outside. Again, half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. If I add 9 within here, I have to subtract it out here. Intentionally making this a perfect square, which is x plus 3 squared, and then 8 minus 9 would be a minus 1. Factors of 36 that sum up to 12. Which would be 6 and 6, so my standard form of y equals x squared plus 12x plus 36 is going to be y equals x plus 6 times x plus 6. That is a perfect square, so vertex form is just x plus 6 squared. If you wrote this as factored form as well, I would be fine with that. 22. X squared minus 2x minus 15. So I'm looking for factors of negative 15. That sum up to negative 2. Since this is a negative number, I have one negative, one positive. To sum up to 2, it would be negative 5 and positive 3. So y equals x minus 5 times x plus 3. Completing this square, y equals x squared minus 2x minus 15. Half of negative 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1, which isn't 15, which is why I'm starting to do my perfect square here. So I add 1 here. If I add it within here, I have to subtract it on my outside. Intentionally making this a perfect square of x minus 1 squared, and then negative 15 minus 1 would be minus 16. Gets a little trickier as I look at 23 and 24, because in both of these, my b term is an odd number. That's going to make vertex form a little tougher, but we can definitely do that. So again, x squared plus 7x minus 8. Factors of negative 8 that sum up to 7, which would be negative 1 and 8. So y equals x minus 1 times x plus 8. All right, let's complete this square. Y equals x squared plus 7x minus 8. So starting to set this up. Not a perfect square. Half of 7 is 7 halves. And 7 halves squared is 49 fourths. If I add 49 fourths in here, I have to subtract 49 fourths on my outside, intentionally creating this x squared plus 7x plus 49 fourths to be my perfect square of x plus 7 halves squared. I could do negative 8 minus 49 fourths on my calculator. I could convert this. If I convert 8 to fourths, 8 times 4 is, and I'm going to do this as side work, 8 times 4 is 32, so this would be negative 32 fourths minus 49 fourths. Negative 32 minus 49 would give me a negative 81 fourths. If you had a decimal, your calculator should have the decimal negative 20.25. Again, I'd prefer that in fraction form. Last one on this page, x squared minus 5x plus 6. So factors of 6 that sum up to a negative 5. We've already done this on the previous page, but that would be negative 3 and negative 2. So y equals x minus 3 times x minus 2. Starting to make this a perfect square. So y equals x squared minus 5x plus 6. Again, x squared minus 5x plus 6 is happening outside. Intentionally trying to create this to be a perfect square. In doing so, half of negative 5 is negative 5 halves. That squared is positive 25 fourths. If I'm going to add 25 fourths here, I'm going to subtract 25 fourths here. Intentionally making this become the perfect square of x minus 5 halves squared. 6 converted into fourths is 24 fourths minus 25 fourths would give me a minus 1/4.